Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Be Christian Anyway. My name is Christian, if you didn't know, and I'm currently out in the country walking. My family and I, we're a family of 5, and we live in the country, and so I'm getting my steps in. I try to aim for 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day, and what you see right here on me is a weighted vest. It's about 40 pounds, 50 pounds. I like to walk with it on to shed some extra weight. And so I hope you're having a good day, a good night, wherever you are. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit and turn on the camera and document my fitness journey. I've spoken to several people who have noticed that I've been on this fitness journey, and many of you guys have encouraged me to turn on the camera and share, my journey, share what I've been through, share why I'm doing it. And so that's what I'm gonna do. This is unscripted. I have some notes here just to kind of keep me focused on the path. But I'm just gonna talk to you guys about my journey, and I hope that it's an encouragement to you, for you to get started, and that you can be blessed by this. Because no matter where you are, no matter how much you weigh, you can start anywhere. This may be day X for me, but whenever you see this video, this could be day 1 for you. All that matters is that you just start somewhere. And so, what made me start my fitness journey? Essentially, just looking in the mirror. I had gained about 210 pounds. I got up to that. I'm gonna try to insert a video into this, a picture, so that you guys can see. But I gained a significant amount of weight. And those that know me know that I'm fairly, or I'm back slim now, but that those that know me know that I'm fairly a slim person, more or less. And throughout the course of my adult life, you fellas, you know how it is. You start eating late, you start getting several entrees. And those that know me, I'm a foodie. I love wholesome, vegan, plant-based food. And so my wife and I, we're both foodies. And so we love to go out and eat. And I started to notice that I was gaining extra weight. And, my wife, we would be eating the same stuff, but it wasn't packing on her as it was me. And, and we're a family of 5 now. We have 3 kids. And, the weight was just gaining. Essentially, that's what it was. And, I wanted to be more fit. I wanted to have a clearer mind. I wanted to, be more active for my kids. I was noticing that as we would go to the park, my kids would have a ton of energy, but my energy was just shot. And so I said, I got to make some changes. And, I would make changes for a couple days, kind of start working out, play with it a little bit. But then after a while, I would just get back into my old ways. It wasn't sustainable. And so I got to a point where I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. My stomach, I knew I had a lot of visceral fat. I knew the love handles needed to go. And I knew I wanted more out of myself. And, it's one thing to say, oh, I don't want to get my body more toned, or I don't want to be more fit. But for me personally, and maybe some of you fellas can relate, it's not that you don't want to do it, but you know what sacrifices you're going to have to make to get to that. And it's the sacrifices that you don't want to commit to as to why you don't do it. Now, everyone's goals are going to be different. Some people are going to want to reach, 30% body fat if they're at 50%. Some people are going to want to reach 20% body fat. Or some people are going to want to get down to that 10 to 15. And so, everyone's goals are going to look different. So you can't measure yourself against someone else. But I think we all should to some degree, take care of our bodies. I'm a Christian, and so I believe my body is the temple of God. And so I want to take care of my body, if it's for no other reason, for God. And so, yeah, so that's what made me start my journey. And I realized I needed to change by just looking in the mirror and just different things that I was no longer satisfied with, essentially. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a realtor. I just got into real estate not too long ago. And there's more things I want out of life that I like to do. I want to start a farm. I want to do a lot of things. And I was just realizing that something needed to change. And I had to begin with my weight, because in that I was able to begin the process to have a clearer mind. I was in full-time ministry, and the Lord blessed, God blessed, but I was realizing that I needed something. There was another level I was not reaching because of, my bad habits. I used to be very active, but then I started turning into, being more sedentary because of work. And I had a lot of sales jobs and things like that, ministry jobs. And so, fellas, we know how it goes. But my day one started about four months ago. And if you haven't started, your day one can start today. And so just want to encourage you with that. Now, when I began, kind of spoke a little bit about this, but when I began, I started at the weight of 210 pounds, about 210, 215. And I had a belly. Like, just gonna call it what it is. I had a belly. And, people that knew me later in my adult life, that's just what they knew me for. But people who knew me before I had the belly, they were like, man, married life must be treating you well. You must be eating good. And, it's all jokes and love, but and I didn't really take offense to it, but subconsciously I was kind of like, man, I didn't always have this. What happened? And so I began to make a change. I was very sluggish. I was very, not just sluggish, but my mind wasn't as clear as it needed to be. And so I had to make some changes. And so as I began this journey, I started, when I first started the journey, I fasted for about 5 to 7 days. Now, that may look different for you. You may not be able to fast 5 to 7 days. Maybe you may be able to only do 1 day. Maybe you may only be able to do, a couple hours. But fasting is the key. My family and I, we do intermittent fasting, so we don't eat between meals. I'm now transitioning more into a 1 meal a day diet. Some people call it the OMAD diet. Because when you start getting in a rhythm, and this is not where I started, remember, this is where I'm at now. But when you start getting in a rhythm, you just realize that we eat too much food. We don't really need that much food. And look, let me just be clear. I was eating 3, 4, 5 meals a day. So I'm not just talking about this from a perspective of I don't understand. Our bodies, we get conditioned into eating more. But once we cut back and we take control, we will realize that, whoa, my body doesn't actually need that much food. And so I'm not talking at you. We're in this together. So I just wanted to be clear about that. But yeah, I fasted, and I started changing my diet. I started focusing more on protein, and I'm plant-based, so that's the diet that I promote. So, but if maybe you're not plant-based, maybe you're a pescatarian or vegetarian or a carnivore or whatever the case may be, I would just encourage you to focus on your protein. Focus on your protein, because we're going to start with diet first. Because you can't outbeat your fork. You can't outweigh your fork. That's the key. Changes have to be made in the kitchen first. And so I started to put my phone away, because it's kind of getting tired of holding it. But yeah, I started focusing on protein. And protein, the reason why I started with protein is because I learned as I was on this journey is that protein makes you more satiated, which means you feel more full. I cut back on the carbs. Man, I love carbs, but I had to cut back on it. The breads, the pastas, you can scarf that down and it will take like about 20 minutes for your brain to catch up that you're even full. And by the time your brain catches up that you're full, you done packed it on. And so I had to cut back on carbs. I went gluten-free for a bit. And I started focusing on the macros like proteins, fats, things like that. And, a healthy fat is avocado. I love avocados. And, people in the fitness world, you'll notice that people start weighing their foods and all that. But if that works for you, hey, salute. But for me, the life that I have with 3 toddlers or 3 kids under 5 and under, that's just not sustainable for me. So I'm not the type to weigh my food. I kind of I ballpark it, and I err on the side of less than more. And so I started, focusing on portion control. And, that helped me a lot. But again, focusing on protein, it allowed me to, feel more satiated, and it allowed me to not feel as hungry. Basically that's what satiated means. But then I also focused on voluminous foods, foods that don't necessarily have a lot of calories, but they have a lot of volume. The reason I did this is because when you do that, it makes you feel more full. So when you add that with protein plus more voluminous foods, you feel more full, you feel more satiated, and you're not necessarily feeling hungry between meals. And so that helped me. Now, with that, I had to cut out a lot of junk food, because you could be vegan and plant-based and still eat a lot of bars and things that are protein, or not protein, but are vegan, but they pack a lot of calories. And as I started realizing, and watching my foods and reading the labels and looking at the calorie count. Now, again, I don't go crazy about the calories in the sense of this has this many calories, I can't do that. But I'm mindful. For example, and this blew my mind. Peanut butter in either 1 tablespoon, I don't have a jar, so I can't tell right now, but I remember as I looked at the peanut butter jar, a serving of 2 tablespoons was like 200 calories. 200 calories. And in my mind, it's like, who actually weighs out 2 tablespoons? Typically, we have more than that when you make a smoothie or something like that, or peanut butter and jelly, whatever you choose. And I noticed that I was eating a lot of calorie dense foods, especially like pasta, peanut butter, your nut butters, a handful of nuts, easily could be 300 calories. Now, why am I talking about calories? The reason I'm talking about calories is because calories, at the end of the day, no matter if you weigh 350 pounds or 200 pounds and you're trying to lose weight, in order to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether you want to attribute it to science, your favorite fitness coach, or whatever. At the end of the day, people that get on these diets to lose weight, whether it's keto, vegan, carnivore, vegetarian, whatever it is, it's those people that are getting on these diets to lose weight, it's so that you can be in a calorie deficit. Now, what is a calorie deficit? Is eating more calories, or eating less calories, than your maintenance. So for each of us, it's gonna look different. For me, my maintenance calories, so if I wanted to maintain my weight, I needed to eat anywhere from 250 no, 2,500. Sorry, got distracted. Man, look at this. Beautiful. God's nature. But I had to eat anywhere from 2,500 to 2,700 calories, give or take, to maintain my weight. Now, if I wanted to lose my weight, I needed to be in a 300 to 500 calorie deficit. That means eating about 300 to 500 calories less than that. Because I'm hardcore and I go full in on things. You know, when I first started out, I was like in 1,000 calorie deficit. And so the weight was just shredding off. A lot of it was water weight. A lot of it was just, you know, gunk, if you want to call it that. It was just me clearing out my body. That's when I fasted for about 5 to 7 days. You know, I did no solids, and then after I did that, I did a juice fast. But I was just clearing myself out. And yeah. And so I started watching my calories. And, you know, I'll put an equation, I'll put some words here for you to be able to calculate your calorie deficit, or the equation you want to use to calculate how many calories you should be eating. I'll put that on the screen. But yeah, I started watching my calories. I started being mindful of it, and to my surprise, I was noticing, like, man, I'm eating a lot of calorie dense foods. And like me, especially being plant-based, you get a lot of your protein from nuts, legumes, things like that. And so I'm eating a lot of the protein because, like, oh yeah, good, nuts, yeah, just come on, just throw them in a smoothie, throw the peanut butter in a smoothie, throw the almonds and all that in a smoothie, and then eat a fruit bowl with the same stuff. And man, look at this. This is the area I live in, friends. Just beautiful. Y'all see that? Let's see if okay. Oh yeah, that's just beautiful. But yeah, just packing on calories and these calorie dense foods. And then I'm eating a lot of carbs that can pack it on too. And so just being mindful of that, it helped me to cut back a lot. And, you know, it was really encouraging to see the progress when I started implementing these quick fixes and these changes and these modifications. It really helped a lot. And so, having said that, you got to cut out seed oils. That's what I did. I'm telling you what worked for me. You know, this is not prescriptive, this is descriptive. So I'm just describing what worked for me, and I hope that it can help with you. And I'm going to share more videos and go more in intent, but I'm just giving more of the overview right now. And so I did that. I focused on my diet first and what needed to change there. Then I started being more active, getting steps in. Now, this would be a little controversial, but again, it's what worked for me. Some people prefer running, some people prefer walking. I know myself. I know I ain't gonna get up in the early morning to go run 2 miles. Now I can do it. You know, or I know after a long day of work, I'm not about to go run for 3 to 5 miles. Just probably not going to do it. Maybe I'll do it here a day or two of the week, but that I knew I wouldn't be consistent. And so what worked for me is just getting steps in, you know, like I'm doing now, you know, talking to you guys, got my weighted vest on. I didn't start out with this at first, couldn't. But, yeah, I just started walking, you know, somebody may say, man, bro, how do I get 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day? And first, you don't got to start there. You can start at 8,000. Easy way to get steps in is, you know, parking maybe a little further in a Walmart parking lot or whatever grocery store you go to. Maybe parking a little further when you go to work. That's what I did. Maybe after every meal, if you eat 3 meals a day, going on a 10-minute walk after each meal. Quick side note, that helps with your insulin spike, and it helps with digestion. And so I would encourage you, after you walk, you know, or after you eat, get some steps and get a walk in. And so walking for me was easier to do than running. Now, sometimes I'll run with the weighted vest. I want to push it a little more, but I'm consistently walking and consistently being active. You don't even know how much calories you could burn just by walking. You know, your body, there's a hormone in your body called ghrelin, and ghrelin makes you feel hungry. That's basically essentially what it is. And when you're running, sorry, the truck just drove past, got dusty. When you're running, obviously you're using more energy, right? And so you're gonna feel more hungry. And the more hungry you feel, the more tempted you're gonna feel to eat more. But when you're walking, it doesn't necessarily trigger the ghrelin hormone in your body as much, if at all. And with that, you'll be more inclined to want to do it. It's easier to go for a walk. It's easier to go for a 10-minute, 15-minute walk, maybe even a 20-minute walk, rather than a run. And so that's something that I implemented, walking. Now, something else that worked for me is going to the gym. Now, for some of us, we all have busy schedules. We all have work and kids to take care of, and the list goes on. Trust me, I know. Family of 5. And those who know, know. But I would just say, you got to make it a priority. You got to make going to the gym a priority. Because if you don't, when your health, or if your health tanks, it'll then become a priority. And you don't want that. You don't want that. You want to choose to go to the gym and choose to be fit and choose to be healthy as a choice, not because you're forced to do it. You know, when I started taking inventory of time that I've been wasting, whether it's scrolling or just being idle, or just, I don't have cable or anything like that, so I'm not wasting time watching TV, but, I do have a phone, YouTube and all social media, all those things. You add up the time, you look at your screen time on your phone, it's like, man, I wasted such and such hours. I could have at least been in the gym 45 minutes to an hour. And look, I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder here. That's not my goal. That's not for me. Maybe that's for you. Maybe it ain't. But, we got to exercise. We got to get active. We got to get fit. Now, for some, you don't need to go to the gym because you may live on a farm. You may be doing farm chores. You may be doing physical labor. You may be in construction. And you may be getting that activity in. So, typically that wouldn't apply. So, but you got to be active. You got to get moving. So it's your diet and it's your physical activity. So again, I started at 210. Right now, my goal weight is to be 165. I know that may sound like to be very light to some, but I want to get to 165. That's like my goal. I don't necessarily want to stay at 165, but my goal is to get to 165, to push myself to that. Personally, I would like to be at somewhere between 12 to 15% body fat. And, you know, by God's grace, I'm on that journey. I made significant improvement. And what I'm talking about, this stuff works. And I'm going to go into more depth. I'm going to put out more videos and things like that. But it's worked for me. Right now, I was at 210, right? I'm currently now at hovering between 175, 178. That's where I'm at right now. And that brings me to another point that don't freak out when you weigh yourself every morning. Don't freak out when the scale goes up. That doesn't necessarily mean you gain fat or anything like that. Most times it's water weight, depending on what you ate yesterday. You know, it's sodium, things like that. So don't freak out. You know, you don't want to look at the daily weight. You want to take the averages. You want to weigh yourself every day, but you want to take the average for the week and see where the trend is. One thing that helps me do this is the Hume app, Hume, Hume. I have the Hume app with the Hume scale. That kind of helps me keep track. You know, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but, you know, that's something that's helped me stay on track. But yeah, I'm hovering around 175, 178, or let's just call it 175, 180. And I'm currently sitting at 16% body fat. Again, this is not to brag or anything like that. I have much work to do, but I just want to say this to encourage you that it's possible. You know, like I said, I'm going to insert a picture here if I didn't already. That my belly was out there. And I had to make a change. And I didn't just make the change for myself, but I wanted to do it for my family. I wanted to do it for God. I wanted to honor him with my body. I wanted to, you know, make a difference. You know, my wife, she does a lot of health coaching and things like that. And we've done cooking classes for people and things like that. But it's like, how can I promote health and help others when I myself am not a living testimony or a walking example, you know? So, yeah. But anyway, don't worry about what you see on the scale. The scale weight is composed of your lean mass and your body fat mass. So, you know, just understand that. And as you lose the weight, you're gonna be encouraged. You're gonna want to keep going. You're gonna gain momentum. You know, one of the things that gave me momentum was, you know, when my wife started to notice my abs. Fellas, come on. Those of you who are married, you know. You know. But yeah, she started, you know, and bless her heart, you know, I love my wife. She's great. You know, but when she started noticing, she's like, wow, like wow. And you know, that encouraged me because even when I was, you know, the most active in my life, when I was playing sports, basketball, and things like that, I never really had abs. I mean, I just didn't, just to be honest. But when she started to notice, it's like, wow, you know, maybe there is something to this. But yeah, there's a lot more I can say about that. But, you know, that was one of the things that gave me momentum. Another thing was my colleagues, you know, people that I worked with, they started to notice, like, man, like, you lost a lot of weight. Like, now to them that don't really know me from how I used to be, to them it's a lot of weight loss, you know? But they started to notice, and that was encouraging. And again, I'm not doing this for people. I don't really care what people think, like, about me. I wasn't always that way, but, you know, I'm at a point in life where I'm not worried about what your opinion does not matter to me. Now, obviously, you want to take constructive criticism and things like that. You know, you guys know what I'm saying. You got to be balanced, but I'm not doing this for people. You know, only people whose opinion matter to me is my family's, and most importantly, God's, and what He thinks of me. But I knew it wasn't God's will for me to be overweight. It's just not. I know that may bother some people, but I mean this with all sincerity. The Bible says it's God's will that we may prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospers. So there's a correlation there. But yeah. And so I started seeing people, or noticing people were, saying, wow, like my brothers and stuff, they were like, man, like, you're losing weight, I started, like, as I would get active and go to the gym and shoot some hoops and stuff, I was able to perform better. Wasn't as tired with my kids out in the park, things like that. And it just, the more I started to see the progress, the more I started to stay committed. Now, there's something when people get in this weight loss journey where it's something called cheat days. But it depends on how you look at it. But I don't necessarily have cheat days. This isn't a diet for me. This is just a way of life now. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. So I don't really have cheat days. Now, does that mean, are there no days where I go out to eat with my family and I just indulge a little bit? Or get a dessert? We like Thai food. We love Thai food, so there's something called mango sticky rice. Are there times where I get mango sticky rice? Yes, I do, But I don't beat myself up about it. I don't, lose my mind when I get on a scale the next morning and I'm up 1 pound or 2 or 3. You want to have fun with this. You don't want to be so strict and hard on yourself to where, you don't have wiggle room. Because if you do, you're going to give up. And trust me, take it from someone who has many times. But even if you give up, you can always get back up. And I'm not where I want to be, but by God's grace, I'm headed there. And so don't be too hard on yourself. Is there anything else? Let me check my notes. Yeah. So I want to encourage you guys that you don't need to be perfect, but you do need to start. Just start. No matter, I know people who were 300 pounds, 260, who got the weight down, who lost it. It's possible, friends, but you got to take action. It's not going to just happen overnight. You're not going to be, for example, 300 pounds and just trip into being 210 or 215. You're not going to it's not going to happen by accident. You have to make the changes. You have to decide that you want more. And this is not I'm not making a case to say that, like, oh, if you're overweight, you're less than or anything like that. No. But what I am saying is you can do it. You can do it. With the help of God and with your will, you can do it. Just start somewhere. You may not be able to do 1 meal a day like me or like others. You may not be able to do that yet. You may not be able to jump straight to a plant-based diet, but start somewhere. Start somewhere. Start somewhere. If you eat pork and all that stuff, it's a lot that we said about that, but You know, maybe cut the pork out. Maybe stick to chicken breast. You know, if you eat that stuff 7 days a week, maybe go to 5 days a week, 4 days a week. You know, push yourself. It's not going to be easy. I'm not trying to make a case that this is going to be easy. It's been many days. You know, I drive past that donut shop, and I'm like, man, I could do about 12 of them things right now. I could do 12 donuts right now. And it's crazy because like we have cravings. It's not like you could just have one. You know, my sisters out there who have been pregnant, who have had cravings, like, you know, pregnancy cravings, you guys could probably feel me. Not that I know what pregnancy cravings are. I don't, obviously. But what I'm saying is when you crave something, it's like your body just wants it. Your body just wants it. It's not like you just want one or two. It's like your body wants like an excessive amount. It's crazy. But willpower, your mind. With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. And so, just get started. You know, maybe you don't want to be in a calorie deficit that's so severe. Maybe you just want to be in a 300 calorie deficit. That's fine. Start there. If my numbers are correct, it's about, is it 3,500? I forget what it is specifically, but yeah, no, that's what it is. A pound of fat has about 3,500 calories. A pound of fat. And so, with that being said, if you take your calorie deficit each day and you add it up for 7 days, that's how many calories you've burned. And if that equals more than 3,500 calories, then you'll be losing a pound of fat at least a week. You know, when we go into these extreme diets where we try to lose 10 pounds a week, that's not sustainable. Dare I say, that's not even safe. You know, it's not safe. But, you know, something realistic is about 1 to 2 pounds of fat a week. 2 pounds is obviously going to be a lot more. You're going to have to be in a bigger calorie deficit. But it's possible, friends. It's possible. I feel better. I feel lighter. I feel more capable, if I could say that. You know, I'm still learning a lot through this, so I'm not a guru in this. I'm starting my fitness journey, or I'm starting to document my fitness journey. So I'm at the beginning, but it's possible, friends. It's possible. Fellas, we can do it. We can do it. We can get back right. We can get back right. And so, getting ready to wrap this video up, just to make sure I didn't forget anything. I mentioned my goal weight. And so, if you're in your own fitness journey, walk with me. Let's do it together. Let's do this together. Let's try to encourage more people to take their health more seriously, because it's important. You know, the Bible says, "Why should you die before your time?" You know, there's a lot of things that can shorten our lifespan. Health being one of them, and we can, with the grace of God, you know, not allow that to be our case. So let's be intentional. So if you're in your own fitness journey, let's do this together. If you're not on one, but you want to be on one, let this be your sign to start, because you can start. I have faith in you, and most importantly, God has faith in you. God believes you can do it. And God knows you can do it, because with men it may be impossible, but with God all things are possible. So let's grow together. I'm gonna continue sharing the real stuff, the raw. I'll share some of my workout videos. But yeah, if you haven't already, like this video, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get this out. Let's encourage more people, because there's someone out there who's battling with depression, anxiety, their weight, and they need to pick me up. And so this is how I want to contribute to society. I want to make people better. So like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. It's a longer video, but yeah. Thank you for viewing my channel, Be Christian Anyway. See you later. Man, nature's beautiful. See ya.